The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It's a While Past Wednesday. We're taking your questions. You're taking your comments throughout the show. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here, and we'll get into those as we go today. Lots of stuff to get into as the international break has come to a close with a draw for the United States. 1-1 draw with Uruguay. Lots of stuff to get into from that one, and we'll start with it here in just a second. We've also got matches in Major League Soccer tonight, and some important ones, too, when you look at the playoff race in both conferences. We'll get you set for those. We'll talk MLS Fantasy Soccer. We'll talk about our friends at Prize Picks. We'll do all of the usual things as we get ready for MLS matches. But, John, we got to start with last night. We paid a visit to Cumming, Georgia. We paid a visit to Pizzeria Azzurri. And it was a lot of fun hanging out with a lot of SDH listeners and watching the U.S.-Uruguay match.
Yeah, and for the record, the Pizzuki has survived, and it survived an evening in the freezer. So that's probably going to be something resembling lunch or dinner or both. But no, it was fun to catch up with everybody, and the fact that we had folks who were inquisitive, and it was good to meet folks. Good to see Daniel Price. Good to see Pete Cox. Good to see Percy Herrera. Some of the folks who've been with us for a while. But it was good to also see the new folks and catch up with them as well. And when you can talk Swansea with Dan, that's never a bad thing, at least for me. But no, it was a tremendous night. Fantastic hosts at Pizzeria Azzurri. I had a more traditional pizza. You, however, decided to go off the board with a recommendation, and go ahead and lay that recommendation out.
Well, let me get everything that was on it first, because it would not have been my normal choice. But when you are recommended to get the best pizza in the house, that's what you do. And it was the Pera. It had pear, gorgonzola, bacon, fresh basil, olive oil, and a garlic base. And it was outstanding. It was something I would have never tried on my own. It was really, really good. Everything that we saw, everything that we tried was great. So if you're in the Cumming area and you're looking for pizza, I've also heard the wings are supposed to be something that you need to get. We went pizza this time. Next time I might try wings. Lots of different options. It was a great place to watch a game, and I know they get great crowds for the Atlanta United matches. So Pizzeria Azzurri, incoming. They are on the good list here at SDH. It was a lot of fun. Let's talk about the game, though, because our pregame show kind of didn't exactly know what to expect coming into this one, and that's been my general thought since the break started was, what are we looking for here? And against Mexico, it was very philosophical. It's like we want to play a certain way, and we don't really care how it's working. We just want to do that and work on it. All right. Uruguay was a different challenge altogether, and I think the team looked more comfortable. Just as a whole, I think they looked better. They looked a little more sure of themselves. That's progress. That's what you would expect in the second game after a little bit of a camp and just some time to gel. So that was a good sign. There's still some issues, and there's some things specifically from this match that were troubling. But you get a result against a not quite first-choice Uruguayan team. You didn't have your first choice either. It's not bad. It's okay.
How much of what you saw, though, can be attributed to the fact that Uruguay sat deeper than your average bear when it came to an approach, and the U.S. was able to kind of maneuver things offensively? How much can be attributed to that, do you think?
I mean, it's part of it, yeah, but you looked more comfortable as a whole, and I'm not saying necessarily from game to game. You just looked comfortable here because even when Uruguay stepped up a little bit, you looked like you handled it. With them sitting back, you didn't create as much, and that's the next steps here. I mean, it's nothing new with a team that wants to be a possession team. Like, first you have to get the possession right. You have to get some of the rotations right, some of the sequences right, some of those patterns that you're trying to create. You have to work on that. And they have been, and it's showing. It's better, but 59% of the possession resulting in 11 shots is not where you want to be. And 4 shots on target, okay, it's all right. It should be better with that much of the ball. And then the flip side, and this is my bigger issue, is that Uruguay had 41% of the possession. They were able to get 15 shots off, only 3 on target, but they were able to create chances without the ball. If you're going to be a possession team, part of it is what you do with the ball, but the other part is how you defend. And I thought Bobby Warshaw had a great point in his breakdown over at MLSsoccer.com. I'm just going to read it. The entire U.S. team need to get better at fouling. The smallest adjustment that could pay the biggest dividends is simply for the U.S. to commit fouls to stop the play when the opponent finds success. Is it a crappy way to go about the sport? Maybe. But if you don't do it, you'll lose. Mexico did it to the U.S. Argentina did it to Mexico. You have to do it at the highest level. I'll be a little more specific. You have to do it when you turn the ball over and your first line of pressure, your first line of defense is broken. You have to foul in the middle third. You flat out have to foul in the middle third. And it was hilarious in 2017 when Jesse Marsh wanted to say that Tata Martino was telling his team to foul or to kick Red Bulls players. No, he was telling them to foul because that's what you do. That's how the game's played. Your first line of pressure gets broken, you commit the foul. The Red Bulls are good at it. A lot of teams are good at it. It's what top teams do. It's what Atlanta United does now. It's what lots of teams do. If you're going to be a ball-dominant team, you're wanting to get players forward. When you lose possession, you first have to try to win it back immediately, and if you don't, you got to foul because you're exposed. Flat out. And if you take a yellow, you take a yellow. Do it. I thought just in general, even a step beyond that, they're just too passive defensively. When you look at 59% of the ball, and when you lose possession, they didn't look comfortable trying to win it back immediately. There were too many times that they turned it over on the edge of the final third or in the final third. Uruguay, with a dribble or a pass, was able to split multiple U.S. players. You only had 10 tackles in the match, only 10 attempted tackles. So you were very passive sitting back. You only committed 3 fouls. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's got to be more aggressive defensively. And maybe that's just a byproduct of you're so focused on other things that this is a secondary thing that you're going to have to build as you go. Well, I think now it's getting to be the time because the Brian Rodriguez goal, in my mind, part of it is from that. You're backing off too much. Aaron Long gets spun like a top because of a great move from Brian Rodriguez, but he shouldn't be in that 1v1 either. He should have help. Play should have been broken up sooner. It needs to be better defensively. I think the possession part is coming. The work on the ball, it's getting better. Defensively, there's a lot of room for improvement, and it's something that Greg Berhalter is going to have to put some time towards going forward because you're going to have 2 teams in Canada and Cuba who Canada can hurt you. They have the players to hurt you. And they're going to look at what Uruguay did here, and they're going to look at what Mexico did, and they're going to say, well, what can we do to make life difficult for the U.S.? Are we going to press high like Mexico did? Can we do that? Are we going to sit deep like Uruguay did? Can we do that? Probably the latter. That's the easier route. And I think Canada will probably be a little more comfortable doing that and then having Alphonso Davies available to break you on the transition. That's a problem. I think Aaron Long had a rough night. I think Tyler Boyd's had 2 rough nights. He had an awful miss in the first half inside the 6. It was better. I don't know if that's really, consoling to people who are looking at the U.S. national team frustrated. It was better. It wasn't great. It was there. It's a better way to finish the break. I mean, it's better than if the games were flipped and Mexico beat you bad going into, coming out of the break anyway, like Mexico dealt with last night where they were pummeled by Argentina 4-0. in the first half. Shocking to show you that it can happen to anybody. Argentina, Lautaro Martinez was outstanding for them. It can happen. I'll take what happened with the U.S. here. You bounced back and you looked better, and now you have at least a little something to build from when you go into CONCACAF Nations League next month.
One of the things that I've picked up in the last couple of years in trying to learn the game is the art of the professional foul. And you do that to slow the momentum down in a transition. And when you don't see that, and you see last night, just in the most recent case, when you see that not occur and you see Uruguay able to turn things in transition, there were folks who were with us who were calling out for fouling just to slow things down a little bit so you could organize, get things figured out defensively, and be prepared to defend. And I honestly can't think of an instance last night where that happened. Zero. I cannot think of one time when that happened. And it's something that you would think would carry over from their club operation. It's like, okay, I'm doing something with my club, that it doesn't trigger in your brain that way. So I don't know why it didn't, but for me, it's just one of the things that stood out from last night. It's like, slow things down so you can get things organized, especially when you're only together for a certain amount of time, so you can get things figured out. So that for me was one of the larger issues from last night. And yeah, I have written down, chances and set pieces, and Brad Gazan comes up with a couple of saves, but, yeah, I mean, to me, that was one of the larger things that stood out last night, is being able to slow down the opposition by doing something that they do with their club teams.
Yeah, but, I mean, you don't want players to go against your manager's instructions, and that's what we don't know. Like, yeah, they do it with a club team that plays a certain way. Just because their club team plays that way doesn't mean that the national team plays that way. We don't know what the instructions are. We don't know what they're being told to do. If they're being told to drop, get into position, then, okay, that's what you're going to do. I think it's something that they're going to have to build and add. I don't think you can do both, and that's where I'm at with it, is I don't think you can be a possession team that gets numbers forward, but then somehow recover faster when your first line of pressure is broken, because then you're done. You're exposed. Like, you don't have an option. You got to foul. That's what teams do. You can't be a possession team and be a passive defensive team. I don't think that works. You're going to have to pick up those fouls because you're going to be in spots where you don't have a choice. And Christian Roldan, has to pick that foul up. Jackson Ewell has to pick that foul up. Sebastian Lletget has to pick that foul up. You can't let the other team come straight down the throat when you get exposed. That's something that they're going to have to add to this, and we'll see if it gets added. Honestly, I remember having this conversation about Atlanta United earlier in the season, where they were focused on the possession and building the patterns and getting comfortable in build-up play the way they wanted. The pressure defensively when the ball turned over was far more passive. It's picked up now that you're more comfortable and you know your positions and you know where your teammates are and you know kind of how it all plays out, and your focus is, okay, we've got the possession part. Now what are we adding? What's the next layer? What's the next layer? So it's something that needs to happen, but it comes back to the overall conversation that we've had for a long time. How much are you going to be able to make this a detailed tactical plan where you have limited training sessions? So, you have to find players who get it, play in a similar system. You have to play to those strengths, or you're going to have to be really good at getting this stuff across and finding ways to do it even outside of training sessions. It's a small world these days in terms of communication with your players if you're the national team manager when they're with their clubs. You're not trying to get in their heads when they have a big game coming up, but ahead of a call-up, when you're going to bring, Christian Pulisic or Weston McKennie especially. McKinney's a prime example here. You're going to bring McKennie in. You're going to make this point to him, in your emails, your WhatsApps, your videos you might send. Like, look, when play transitions, when that first line is broken, you're going to have to either win the tackle or commit the foul in the middle third. And you can start to make those points. That's where Greg Berhalter is going to have to be really savvy, because he just doesn't have the same training time day after day after day to build. He doesn't have the same video time, the meeting time. He doesn't have any of that to just build it. It's going to have to be done kind of off hours in a lot of ways. And we'll see if he can pull it off, because if you want to play the way that he has made it clear that he wants to play, there are other elements to it that have to go along with it. Or you can be a great possession team and complete passes at 90% and dominate 65% of the ball. And if you don't get a whole bunch of goals, every time you turn it over, you're exposed and you're going to get hurt. And that's the thing they've got to learn.
Yeah, for me, that's exactly one of the things that has stuck in my brain from this whole thing. And, you look at individual players last night. You saw Jordan Morris have a couple of chances. You saw Josh Sargent, and then that moment in the 39th that has stuck out to me. And it was a comment that you were making where, and this comes with time and experience and communication, is the second run when it comes to offensive opportunities. That was something that also stuck out to me in my notes last night. And it's just something that is learned with time, I guess.
Yeah, it's the later run or hanging back. It felt like early everybody was making the same run into the 18. You might get a little bit of differentiation between near post, far post, middle of the goal, but it was pretty much every run was in a line. And it wasn't until the half went on a little bit that you started to see, all right, they're looking for the cut back. They're looking to play somebody who's coming in from the top of the 18. There was one good chance that was created that way that forced a save. It's something that Atlanta United does really well, where, Julian Gressel gets his head up, doesn't just put a cross in and just to see what happens. He gets his head up. There's a secondary runner at the top of the 18. He'll cut it back on the ground to that person. You can do both. You can open the game up that way, and that's just more diversity in the attack. And that probably goes back to the issue with only 11 shots, 4 on target, out of that much possession. It's just not enough. You've got to get more than that to be effective, because otherwise you're exposing yourself by getting forward in big numbers, but you're not getting anything to show for getting all those numbers forward. And it's too risky if you're not getting things to show for it. So it's something that they're going to have to be better in the final third. You didn't have Christian Pulisic here. You didn't have Josie Altidore. You had Josh Sargent, who was okay. I thought Sargent was okay. He wasn't outstanding, but he wasn't bad. No one really scared you up top. Jordan Morris was probably your best attacking player. Tyler Boyd was poor again, and that's a bit of a concern, because this was not expected out of him with his background and the excitement about him switching to play for the U.S. Back-to-back games where it hasn't been good. So does he still have a lock on a spot, or is he going to get beaten out? We'll have to wait and see. Got to get more in the final third, though. You just have to get more to show for all the work that you're putting in. We'll take your questions on U.S. and Uruguay as we go this morning. We're going to get into the matches in Major League Soccer after the break. You've got 4 big matches tonight. We'll get you set with some news and nuggets on each match. We'll also get you set with some Juicebox Purveyor thoughts, because they're out there. Because it's MLS back again. There might be a few players who jump straight back into teams tonight. It's possible. Guys who didn't play last night. Sean Johnson could be one of those guys. Others, you're not going to see them till the weekend. There's a couple teams that are going to be heavily affected by absences tonight. We'll get into all of that right after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Getting ready for 4 MLS matches tonight on a Wednesday, a day after the international break concludes with national team matches all over the globe. Tricky spot for a few teams that are in action tonight. 2 of them are in New York City. NYC and Toronto. 7 o'clock kick. New York City have won 8 of their last 9 at home. Toronto haven't lost in their last 5. Toronto have scored at least 2 goals against NYC in 6 of their last 7 matches. Flip side is NYC have scored at least 2 goals in 5 of their last 6 against Toronto at Yankee Stadium. So the over sounds like a good thing here.
Yeah.
Coming into it, New York City is in first place in the East, 53 points. Toronto is in 6th on the tiebreak with the Red Bulls. They are on 41 points. They are 1 win behind the Red Bulls. Toronto, Josie Altidore, where's his health? Is he going to be able to start? Is it Patrick Mullins up top? They wrecked Cincinnati over the weekend, but that's nothing new. A lot of teams have done that.
I was going to say, who doesn't
out
make
of
sense?
it. New York City had to battle to get a win against New England, even though they dominated in shots. They had a man advantage. Toronto had the easier match over the weekend. NYC had to work. You wonder where the legs are because neither team is all that deep at the moment with players away. This is a really tricky one, and it's a really big match in the East because if Toronto's able to take points off of NYC, Philadelphia is very, very happy. Atlanta's very, very happy. The Red Bulls would not be happy. DC would not be happy because that would give Toronto a bit of a lane to get all the way up into 4th and host a playoff game, which I would not have expected a little while ago.
Yeah.
It's a massive, massive game, and neither team's going to be at full strength. It feels like such a toss-up right now.
So then which number would you like first?
Give me the draw number because that's what I'm leaning towards.
All right. So for today, we have consulted the composite from our friends at Odds Shark. The draw started at plus 311. It has shifted to plus 260 to plus 290.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling like a 2-2 draw.
NYCFC started minus 130. Their line has shifted It is now plus 120 to plus 125. Toronto started plus 337. And that has dropped completely and pretty much hovering around plus 200.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto 4-6-4 on the road. NYC's only lost once at home. I feel like a draw. 'Cause I just don't know if NYC is going to have enough in the tank to beat a Toronto team that's feeling pretty good about themselves and has a lot to play for right now. Toronto's impressed me lately because I did not think they would be in the spot at this point. I thought that somebody else would step up and take it, but Montreal, Orlando, and Chicago, none of them have done it. They've all dropped points where they should not have. So Toronto has been able to climb with, they're undefeated in 5, but 3 of those are draws. And when you look back at Orlando, for example, Orlando should have won at home this weekend. They didn't. They dropped 2 points there. They went to San Jose and got wrecked. They went to Minnesota, could have gotten a win there. They didn't. They lost the narrow match to Atlanta. Orlando should have picked up more points to be ahead of Toronto. Chicago lost at New England 2-1. They drew at Columbus. That's the one that Chicago is going to be kicking themselves about. That's the one that pretty much puts them out of it. And Montreal, I mean, they've been just all over the place with the firing of Remy Gard, with Wilmer Cabrera coming in. Awful loss to DC United. That's the one that's going to wreck them. And the loss at Toronto. I mean, those are the things that make Toronto drawing their way into the playoff spots.
Yeah.
It opens that door. But now you've got a bigger door open. It felt like 2 weeks ago for Toronto, it was you got to get in. You got to get into the top 7. Just get in. Now, because of the slide that DC and Red Bulls have had, you've got a shot to get into that 4 spot. Because DC has lost 3 of their last 4. They lost 3 in a row before winning in Montreal. Red Bulls have lost back-to-back at NYC and then the crazy one against Colorado. And they go to Seattle this weekend. So this is a big opportunity for Toronto. I just don't know if they're good enough to win at Yankee Stadium, but I think they're good enough not to lose.
Yeah. I think they're good enough to draw right now. But, a month ago, I don't know if I would have anticipated having this conversation about Toronto FC. I really don't.
I thought they would be like in that New England spot or the Montreal spot, like 7-8, and battling to hold on. I didn't expect them to have an opportunity tonight to go into a number 4 hosting a playoff game spot. I just didn't see that coming for Toronto.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Houston is at 8:30. Houston has fallen all the way down into the 11 spot in the Western Conference. They have lost 6 of their last 7. It's been very, very bad. Minnesota, other side, they are 5-8-1 on the road, which is pretty good. 5 wins on the road, you take that. They are in the 3 spot at the moment. A win would jump them ahead of Seattle, and they would be 2 points clear of Seattle with a win. They have the opportunity to get a win here. I think they should win this one. What do the Juicebox purveyors think?
All right. Houston started plus 110. And it's raised a little bit, anywhere from plus 125 to plus 138. Minnesota started plus 238, and that has dropped, kind of hovering around plus 190. Your draw option started plus 278, kind of anywhere from plus 250 to plus 270. And to explain the numbers once again, because I know that we even had people asking us last night when we do this kind of thing, if it's a minus number, like say NYCFC's initial number, you would have to bet that minus number to get 100 back. If it's a plus number, if you bet 100, you would get that plus number in return. So as an example, NYCFC started out minus 130. You'd have to bet $130 juice boxes. Wow. Sorry about that.
Yeah, come on.
you'd have to bet 130 juice boxes of your favorite flavor just to get 100 juice boxes in return. Toronto, by comparison, all you'd have to do initially was put up 100 of your favorite juice boxes, and then you would get 337 juice boxes in return. That's the plus minus that we're talking about.
I'm blown away that Minnesota is that much of an underdog against a team in Houston that has won 2 matches since May 18th. That's a long time ago, folks. That's 4 months ago almost. And in that time frame, the one they lost at Minnesota, they beat the Red Bulls in Houston, and they won in Toronto, which was the really baffling one where Toronto rested a bunch of players and Houston took advantage. They only have 2 draws in that same time frame as well, a draw with Kansas City and a draw with Colorado. So since they beat D.C. on May 18th, they've won 2, they've drawn 2, they have lost, a lot of quick math, 13 times. That is horrendous.
That's not good.
Minnesota will get the win tonight one way or another. I think they can pull this off. Colorado and the LA Galaxy. The Rapids have won their last 3 at home. The Galaxy have lost 5 of their last 6 on the road, and they've also conceded at least 3 goals in 5 of their last 6 on the road. Yee. This is such a tricky one because that sounds like you're pointing towards Colorado. Well, then you look at the table, and Colorado's on 33 points. Galaxy are on 42. Galaxy are right now on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. This feels like a game where the Galaxy find a way because they're the better team. They are the more talented team here. But that form on the road has been for the Galaxy. So you have a new manager for Colorado as well, and Robin Fraser, who is 2-0. This is a complicated one. What are the experts saying on this?
Which one do you want first?
Just pick one.
Well, because if you said it was complicated, I was going to lean toward the draw.
Okay. You can go in whatever order you want.
Draw option started plus 279. Kind of hovering in that same zone. You can get it anywhere from plus 270 to plus 300 for the draw. Colorado and the Galaxy, strangely enough, both started around the same margins. Colorado started plus 158. The Galaxy started plus 161, and they've gone in opposite directions. Colorado now can be found plus 110 to plus 125. Galaxy went the other way, hovering around plus 190 to plus 200.
I wouldn't touch this one.
Nope.
I wouldn't even find a juice box in the back of the fridge for it. I don't know. I don't see a draw. Colorado's not a team that draws all that much as of late. They kind of go for things because they have nothing to lose. So they'll go for a win. They'll risk it. I don't see them playing for a draw at home. The Galaxy have had some draws, but the Galaxy are also generally a fairly high-scoring team, although they concede a lot on the road as well. This is a game that if the Galaxy are a playoff team, they got to go win. And that's maybe the answer that we get tonight, is if they can't find a way to go and dodge the plague-infested Prairie Dogs and get a win, they probably shouldn't make the playoffs. So they've got something to prove tonight in a big way. And for Colorado, I mean, anything you get is great. You're playing the role of spoiler. You're having fun. You've won back-to-back with Robin Fraser in charge. Things are looking really good for next year if you're a Colorado Rapids fan. And, hey, maybe the good times continue tonight against the Galaxy. It's always fun to beat the Galaxy. We'll see if Colorado can join that club. RSL in San Jose finishes everything out tonight. It's a 9:30 kick on the East Coast. RSL have won 8 of their last 10 at home. San Jose have lost their last 3 on the road. adding to that, RSL have not lost to the Quakes in their last 5 matches in all competitions. When you look at the table and where they stand coming in, the Quakes are in 4th on 44 points. RSL is in 5th on 43. That 4-5, right now they'd face each other in the postseason, and RSL would be going to San Jose. Our result tonight flips a lot of stuff on its head. This is a huge game for positioning in the Western Conference. What are the experts saying?
Real Salt Lake started minus 121. That has ballooned to the other side, anywhere from plus 150 to plus 161. So you're talking basically a 70 to 80 juice box change on the flip side of that one. San Jose started plus 333. That's basically been cut in half. It's now plus 160 to plus 172. Your draw option started just under plus 300. Right now, plus 235 to plus 260.
Yeah, I lean the home team when I don't really have a strong opinion either way on, okay, I feel like this team is better. They can beat them in this way. They can deal with this effectively. I'd lean towards the home team. But
yeah,
when you look at this one specifically, I think the international break hurts RSL a little bit more in this and provides an opening for San Jose. Those 3 straight losses on the road for the Quakes were 3 games in a row. And it was August 10th at Colorado, August 17th at Sporting, August 21st at LAFC. Prior to that, they had won back-to-back on the road at Vancouver and the week before that at the LA Galaxy. They're a team that can win on the road. They don't have the greatest road record, but it's not inconceivable. San Jose will be missing Vaco and Guram Kasia. The list for RSL, and this is just the international duty list. Now, some of these players could be back. I don't know if they're going to be back for a 90-minute performance. But away on international duty during this break, Albert Rusnak, Sam Johnson, Jefferson Savarino, Sebastian Salcedo, Justin Glad, Brooks Lennon, Aaron Herrera, Corey Baird.
Is that all?
That's it. Baird was a second-half sub, but yesterday you had Herrera, Lennon, Glad, Bofo Salcedo, all with U.S. youth national teams. They finished up Monday. It's a little more likely that some of them could be available tonight. Oh, if I had to pick a winner here, if I don't have the draw option available, I would go San Jose.
Yeah,
because of fewer absences, and I feel like Rusnak would be the guy who could help deal with San Jose's defense a little bit more. You're going to have to get a massive night out of Damir Kreilach tonight, which he can deliver. He's done it before, but he's going to need some help, and I don't know who it is who steps up to help him deal with this Quakes attack, or this Quakes attacking defense, probably the best way to put it. I think the Quakes find a way to get a win tonight. I really do.
Yeah, I mean that's how I'm leaning, just because of the sheer number of absences from RSL and then trying to get back into the swing of things. So, yep, I'm leaning San Jose as well, but because of the craziness, there are very few of these matches tonight that I would find my aloe kiwi acai passion fruit 30 days past the expiration date juice box and put them on tonight.
Well, that's the one that you would throw just because you want to get rid of it. So there's a couple that, if you want to take a chance on, there's not any huge numbers. There's not anything that's like, ooh, that would be a really good play because I kind of like it and it's a huge number. There's nothing like that jumps out. What was the Quakes win number? That's probably the one that I'd feel the strongest about in terms of a risky one.
Anywhere from plus 160 to plus 172.
Yeah, and it's not even that strong. So that's the one that I think the Quakes win on the road. I think Minnesota wins on the road, but that's not a shock. I'm not touching Colorado and the Galaxy at all. I got no clue where that one's going to go, and I feel like NYC and Toronto probably cancel each other out and get a draw.
And considering that number is hovering north of plus 250 almost, and if you go and you can get it at plus 290 at a couple of places.
Yeah, that would be the one that I'm probably leaning towards the most. Let's take a break, come back, and dig into the Twitter timeline to finish up hour number 1. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Wall Pass Wednesday. We are taking your questions, your comments on Twitter at Soccer Down here. Let us know what you're thinking about on a Wednesday. What are the people thinking about, John?
Well, back to last night, some folks had questions while we were on tour.
Okay.
And the commissioner actually had a question having to do with the men's national team. And he wanted to know if USMNT players travel first class or coach when going to and from a call-up.
I don't know. I'm not sure how that works. Probably be something that is in their CBA, and I would assume that it would be first class, but I'm not 100% sure when traveling to it. I know it can come up sometimes where you get a situation like going back. I'm sure the federation probably has the ticket going back from an away game, coming back to whatever standard destination. But I wonder where you get some where a club might want to get a player back earlier if possible, like if there's a private flight, private plane, whatever. I don't know. It probably depends a little bit on what it is as well. If it's a friendly versus a competition, there's probably a different standard. That's a really good question, and I don't know if that stuff is truly out there publicly or not. I'd assume that when, like, in a break where they play 2 games, like, there's probably protocols in flying to meet the team for the first game for training and playing it. The team probably charters between games because they're all together, and then whatever it is to send the players back to their clubs and how that works, if it's the federation, if it's the clubs handling it, if it's a little of both, I don't know. That's the stuff I'm not really sure on. But also, like when you have a group for a Gold Cup or a World Cup, for example, it's probably a whole different conversation too.
KFC had a question. It was after the match. I know it's after, but the last play of the half reminded me, are we intentionally trying to head balls down to teammates in the box? Seemed to happen a few times against Mexico.
Head balls down to teammates from a defensive standpoint or an attacking standpoint? That's the question.
Attacking standpoint.
Depends on the situation. I mean, if you get there's some where that's the better play. I mean, there's a lot, and it depends on the player too. There's some players who are just not as good in the air at heading on goal, and they'd rather head it back or head it down. This is the stuff that if you're seeing a trend, I haven't noticed it. First off, it didn't jump out to me. But sometimes when you're working on some things in training, things get stressed. Like, hey, look for the header back, look for the play back, and maybe players overdo it. That can happen, especially early on in a process. It just depends on the player. I mean, you saw the Christian Roldan header that I thought was outstanding in the first half, and it forced a great save. It was one of the better chances in the first half for the U.S. It doesn't always happen, but there are some players who are going to be more apt to head it down looking for a teammate or head it back or flick it across than somebody who's going to go to goal. And then there are others who are always going to head towards goal. That's just, they have that confidence, they have that ability, they're going to go for it. I mean, I remember the MLS Cup final and the goal that Franco Escobar scored. It looked like Joseph Martinez was flicking that on. But when you watched the MLS films piece that they did about the game and they had the interviews in it, Joseph wasn't heading that on looking for anybody. He was trying to head it on goal. He just wasn't able to pull it off because it would have been an extremely difficult header on goal to redirect it from that angle. But that's Joseph. He's going to go for that every single time. Whereas another player might be like, you know what, I don't have the angle here. I'm going to flick it on. I'm going to flick it back across. I'm just going to redirect. So a lot of it depends on the player. I haven't noticed it as something that it looks like they're always looking to do.
Andy Hollums. By the way, Myles got 30 minutes last night. For those that didn't get to watch, he came in for Aaron Long. Mm-hmm. And this is a Myles-based thought from Andy. He says, just watch the Uruguay goal. Myles Robinson wouldn't have been beaten there.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say. I don't think he would have either. I think he's a better 1v1 defender than Aaron Long. I don't like that Long was in that spot to begin with. I don't like that it broke down to the point that Aaron Long's in a 1v1 with Brian Rodriguez. I don't like anybody's chances in a 1v1 with Brian Rodriguez running at him. He's that good in the 1v1. Even Myles, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him left out to dry like that, but he has defended that really, really well this season. I can only think of like one or two times that he was beaten on the dribble in that kind of situation. It's not something you want to put him in a lot, but he's been up to the task this season. I think Aaron Long had not the best of times in these two games. He struggled last night, in my opinion. Tim Ream was far better as a center back. Some of it was down to the way the game played out, and Ream is a stronger passer, and it's gonna show. I think you have to consider Myles Robinson to start in the CONCACAF Nations League games. I really do. And I don't want that to come off as like, oh, well, it's the Atlanta guy, so of course, he's going to say Myles Robinson. I think Myles showed more in these two games as a sub. I think he's shown more this season. I think he's a better fit because I think he plays in a system that is very similar to what Greg Berhalter wants to do. I think he can grasp what Berhalter wants his center backs to do, better than Aaron Long, who is in a system where the first option for the center back most often is to play long or to play, down the channels, down the flanks. For Robinson, it's keep it. Play a teammate. Play short. Play to your other center back partner. Play out to your outside back. I think Robinson's a better fit for the system. And I would love to see Robinson and John Brooks together. I think it's time for it. So, and it's not a lock on Aaron Long. Aaron Long has been so good over the last couple of years. He's been a really It's been for the Red Bulls to see Aaron Long and say, you know what, we can make something of him when Portland and Seattle could not figure out what to do with him. He plays a year for Red Bulls too, and then comes into the first team and is one of the best defenders in the league. He's been great. I just think right now Robinson's a better fit for the system. So Robinson should be getting starting minutes with the first team, with the U.S. men's national team at this point, in my opinion.
Daniel Price commenting on last night. He says two things. First off, to the Suburban Ultras and to Pizzeria Zuri. It was a blast last night to meet fellow SDH listeners and to hang out with us. He said that Pizzeria Zuri was great. Ultras were very welcoming. Can't wait until the tour comes back OTP for the next one. And then Daniel wants to know, now that there are live tour shows, when will there be the giant SDH cookout barbecue meetup?
Yeah, I guess that needs to happen. Maybe that's a season kickoff next year kind of thing, but the season's going to kick off probably in mid-February or even early February with CONCACAF possibly. So that might be a little tricky. It might not be the best weather for a cookout. Maybe it's the international break in March. That might work. That might be the perfect time for it, actually.
So think about that right now, just as, penciling it in for March.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the March international break next year. That might be the way to do it.
Yep. All right. So March, people, remember that one. Shiva with some news this morning and adding to it. Shiva says, no Barco in training per Doug. Apparently Doug also did not see Andrew Carlton. And then she says, maybe this is more serious than we thought.
It's possible. It's also Wednesday. You've got 2 more sessions between now and the match. So Frank DeBoer will speak to the media tomorrow, and that's where you'll start to get some answers about what the lineup could look like on Saturday. Barco could have been inside doing more rehab physical work as opposed to working with the team. So we'll get those answers tomorrow as everything gets back into a normal MLS week, and it's only kind of half of a normal MLS week because next week's not normal because there's a midweek game in Cincinnati. The following week's not normal because there's a midweek game in New York, and then the final week's normal, and then you're going into decision day. So, yeah, it's going to be wild. Well,
and then adding to that, you've also got, you're not going to be at the Fraction. You're not going to be seeing Acción a la Fracción because you will be on the road, and the Twos will be playing the next 2 Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken, the 18th and the 25th.
Yes, I will be away because I will be in Cincinnati and New York. That is true.
Yes, so there will be dueling Atlanta Uniteds going at it, but make sure that one screen is on one and one screen is on the other, so you can have your viewing and listening experience in stereo and in multiple rooms. It's going to be a very, very multitaskable end of the month.
You're just going to lose your mind. That's just what's going to happen. It's okay.
Pretty much.
You'll have time to get it back. The international break will allow you to recover.
Yes. Jorge B. does not understand the decision of U.S. Soccer to play on a baseball field. I guess they're not paying attention to the situation at Yankee Stadium with NYCFC.
At least it's wider. That's the only thing I'm going to give it. No, I'll give it 2 things. So it's wider at Busch Stadium. I think it was 70 yards, judging from where marks were on the field and what it looked like. I think it's safe to say that it was 70 yards wide. Well, it's better than Yankee Stadium because they say it's 70 yards wide, but I don't think it's truly 70 yards wide. It looked better than Yankee Stadium. The sod in the infield, for whatever reason, looked better. I think it played better in terms of being flat, but it still popped up and took divots and was chunky and all the bad things that you don't want it to be. I'm with Jorge B. At this stage, with the number of options that you have, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that when you have other places you can play these games? For the crowd you're drawing right now, and did we ever get an official attendance last night? I mean, I'm sure they put it in the press release. I didn't see it. I wasn't looking for it too hard, and I didn't hear it. See if you can find that real quick.
Efforting.
For the size of the crowd it appeared, you could have played that match in Kansas City, and it would have looked great. You could have played that match at Bridgeview, and it would have looked great. You could have played that match in a number of soccer-specific stadiums, and it would have looked great for that type of crowd. It would have been a much better venue. It would have been a much better, I think, match, because you wouldn't have had these issues. It's something that I don't understand at this point, why you have to do that when you have so many different options. I don't get it. I just don't.
Listed, according to U.S. Soccer attendance, 20,625.
Wow, they didn't even go as high as I thought. It was 17.5 on tickets sold or distributed the day before, so they added another 3,000 to it.
Yeah.
Ugh. That's awful. That's awful. That's just... No. If that's where you're at for friendlies at this point, then...
That's not cool.
Then rotate them around the MLS stadiums and play them. No, if that's it, that's it. I mean, I think that's where it is. Like, if you're going to charge the amount of money you're charging, if you're in a rebuilding mode, if you're focused on philosophy and style as opposed to results, and it's a friendly, book it in a 20,000-seater and do it. And it'll be better. If you're going to play a big-name opponent and you're going to play to try to win the match, or it is a meaningful game, play it in a bigger place. But you don't need to be playing Uruguay on a Tuesday at Busch Stadium and putting sod down over the infield and whatever the cost is of doing that to get 20,000 people. Like, I don't know how they made money on that last night.
I don't either.
So why? Why are we booking it this way? Like, that's even more dumb. Like, it's one thing if you do that against a team and in a situation where you're going to draw 50,000 or whatever Busch seats. I think maybe not 60, probably 50-something. All right, cool. But you didn't. You sold. You got 20,000 people in there. I don't even know if you sold all 20,000 tickets.
Yeah, that to me is the other thing. Did you sell all of the 20, or is the 20?
Doesn't matter. Whatever. They gave away a bunch. Okay, fine. They didn't make money if they sold them all anyway. That's the important thing here. If they sold every ticket, you're not making money with that attendance in that venue where you have to sod the infield. So, why? I don't know. Nobody does, because it doesn't make any sense. Welcome to U.S. Soccer on the regular. We're going to take a quick break. Come back. Mike Conti will join us on the other side. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Apple Linsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, SDH on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Keep sending those questions in. We'll get to more of those in hour number 2. But up first, it's Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Doing good. We were told to relay a message that when you are in Cumming, Georgia, you have to stop into Pizzeria Azzurri.
Oh, I love pizza, and I love the Azzurri. So Pizzeria Azzurri sounds like a winning combo to me. It looks like you guys had a great time there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it was
Jason,
very, very good.
So
tell Mike what was on the pizza that you had last night?
Yes. I need to know what the go-to toppings are.
So I was told that when I was looking, I'm like, well, what do I want to do? And John's like afraid to try anything crazy, so he's wanting to just get pepperoni. And I'm like, I'm feeling a little adventurous.
No.
I'm feeling a little, I want to go out on a limb here. So
yeah, like the 38 meat pizza last night.
Yeah, I mean, you added a couple other things than pepperoni. So you went slightly out on a limb. I went way out on the limb and got the
I was
para.
dangerous.
I went the para. It was pear, gorgonzola, an olive oil and garlic base, bacon. Really good.
Oh, that sounds good.
Really,
I would
really
substitute prosciutto for bacon if you're doing pear. Was it a white sauce or a red sauce?
White.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would work. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know when I'm going to be up in Cumming again, but when I am, that is going to be a definite go-to for me because there's nothing better than a good pizza, and it's hard to replicate. I know a lot of Northerners, people who grew up, in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, people like me. They have this longing for the New York style pizza, and if it's not New York style and well done like that, then it's not good. I don't agree with that. I'm willing. I think the Chicago deep dish is really good, as Jason has seen firsthand on some of our road trips. The guys down, is it Arkell and Gemelli, the Detroit style pizza down in not Little Five? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Jason.
yeah, Nina and Rafi's.
Nina and Rafi's, excuse me. Yeah, that's delicious. So, when you're speaking my language, when you get into gorgonzola and pear and bacon and things like that. So I will absolutely give Pizzeria Azzurri a try, and I cannot wait to get up there.
Yes, yeah, they've got a bunch of different ones. Yeah, and let's see, you had the para. They have the Hawaiian. They've got a chicken pesto. They've got a dynamite buffalo chicken Napoleon. White chicken spinach. They're all over the place.
And I'll tell you, I think Hawaiian is one of the more underrated pizza, I don't call it toppings, but like pizza themes out there.
The combo, yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are disgusted with the idea of putting pineapple on their pizza, but the pineapple ham combo, when you get the sweet and salty and then you combine it with the rest of the goodness of the pizza, it's almost like it's the Darlington Nagby of pizzas, just criminally underappreciated because a lot of people don't understand what it does.
The silent assassin of pizzas.
Yes, John. Thank you. Absolutely. So thank you for the report. I'm glad I just had breakfast before coming on with you because I would be ravenously hungry otherwise if we were just talking about this now.
All right, we got to get into the matches tonight because this feels like such a weird set of MLS matches.
Yeah.
And there's not any easy calls. Like I don't think any of them, maybe outside of Minnesota winning in Houston, I feel pretty good about that one.
But I don't think I wouldn't put money on it, because you're still going down to Houston, and Houston, they're pretty much out of it now. I mean, I know they're not eliminated, but they're not going to go to the playoffs. But they're 7-3-4 at home in MLS. If you throw all competitions in there, the Liga MX teams that they played in when they played Tigres and CONCACAF, and when they played in the Leagues Cup as well, they were competitive at home. So 11 of the 15 matches they've played at home this year, they've gotten a result. Real opportunity for Minnesota. This is their game in hand now on Seattle. This is it, and San Jose plays as well tonight. They have that game in hand on Seattle too. I know we'll get to that. Real opportunity for the Loons. They're 5-8-1 on the road this year. How many times have we seen them lose at the death on the road or have a chance to get a result on the road right at the end, and it just doesn't come together for them? If they get a win tonight, you look at the schedule they have down the stretch, they're going to control their own destiny to get that number 2 seed in the West, which is a really, really important spot to be in. No one's going to catch LAFC for number 1. So this is basically what the rest of the conference is playing for. I think Houston will make this difficult on them tonight. I really, really do. Minnesota should win. If Minnesota wants to prove something to us, tonight would be a good night to do it, Jason. But, look, we will see. Houston has been very, very tough at home this year, and you never know. You're playing an MLS team, just as Atlanta United. These next 2 matches of theirs against Columbus and Cincinnati, you never know. You have to respect them because they have professional players that you're going up against.
So let's stick out west and go through, we had the Connor Casey effect. Now we have the Robin Fraser effect in Colorado, but you're going up against a team in LA Galaxy, which is the Forrest Gump box of chocolates on a daily basis.
Yeah, and they're below the playoff line right now.
Yeah.
In points per match, they aren't, but right now, again, an important game in hand for them on Dallas that they're going to play tonight. Right now, I mean, LA Galaxy, this is what's crazy. They're in 8th right now. If they win tonight, they could go all the way up to 4th. If they win tonight and if San Jose loses, or if San Jose and Real Salt Lake split points, like they're 8th, they could go up to 4th. If they lose, that's a big, big blow because then Dallas and Portland and the winner of that RSL San Jose match can gain on them a little bit. Another example where Colorado playing at home, it's been pretty good this year. That 15 matches at home, and they've gotten results in 9 of them. They've won 7. Pretty good. LA Galaxy has not been very good on the road this year, 4-8-2. Their best wins this year have probably been on the road, though, which is somewhat odd. We'll see. I don't know what international duty has done to both of these teams. I don't know if anyone's out tonight. You guys would probably know better than I. But a fascinating match where it puts LA Galaxy in that awkward position of having to travel midweek, which is very, very complicated. And Colorado, they're out of it. They're on 33 points. They aren't going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're still mathematically in it, but they're out of it. But they have a chance to play the role of spoiler. And they're not a team I'd be really thrilled about playing right now because when they're switched on, they can be very, very good.
Colorado will be missing Kai Kamara. He's out on international duty, but they won without him against Seattle. Galaxy are missing Jonathan Dos Santos, Uriel Antuna, and Sebastian Lletget. 3 important players, and Perry Kitchen's got a groin injury. He is not he's listed as doubtful. He's not a definite here. He would be somebody who could step in for Jonathan Dos Santos. That makes it really difficult for the Galaxy, and if they drop points here and things work for Minnesota and for either RSL or San Jose, if they get 3 points there, you start to see a little separation away from the Galaxy in that 8 spot.
Yeah, and it concerns you a little bit from the standpoint of anyone in the East that's hoping that LA Galaxy can maybe pull an upset on LAFC in the playoffs. You're going to need LA Galaxy to be in that 4 or 5 spot. Otherwise, the chances of them running into LAFC in the postseason become very, very remote. This, again, is a product of MLS getting the playoff format wrong and not reseeding after the first round. But that's another discussion for another day. So as far as an outcome that I would be rooting for, I would like to see LA Galaxy get it together mathematically. They still have a very good chance, a great chance to end up in that 4 or 5 spot. And then if they win their first round game, they'd be playing LAFC. I think that's what you want to see if you're an Atlanta United fan right now, because you're looking at what are the best opportunities for LAFC to get knocked out. It's not that I don't like Atlanta United's chances against LAFC in a rematch. I just don't like the fact that you would have to go out there and play them out there again. You know, you would, if you're fortunate enough to go to the MLS Cup final, you would like to have the right to host it. And you've got to get LAFC out of the way if you want that.
And with LAFC, you know, the questions about their depth are always going to be there. And I think that it's something that, you know, we always have a tendency to look at the shiny objects of LAFC, and rightfully so, considering that, you know, with everything that Carlos Vela has done, you know, there are people who don't look at Diego Rossi and his amazing season.
Yeah.
But when you put the shiny objects aside, I think that for LAFC, one of the things that is always a point of concern for them and for those of us looking at LAFC is the depth of that roster and the confidence that Bob Bradley may have in using those guys.
Yeah, I think you saw proof of that in Orlando last Saturday, and I think you're going to see evidence of it again this Saturday when they go to Philadelphia. In my opinion, Philadelphia is a deeper team than LAFC. LAFC has the top-line quality that no other team in this league has, not even Atlanta, at least this year. But in terms of depth, Philadelphia's a deeper team than LAFC. We might see that manifest on Saturday the same way that it did in Orlando. It's not going to change anything. I mean, at least as far as the regular season is concerned, LAFC is going to win the Supporters' Shield unless they have just an incredibly massive collapse. They're going to win the Shield. They're going to be the number 1 overall seed in the West. I don't think any of that's going to change. But you're starting to see some holes poked in the armor a little bit. And that might give fans in Atlanta and Philadelphia and New York City and Seattle and Salt Lake City and, Minneapolis and St. Paul a little bit of hope that maybe there are some vulnerabilities that you can exploit in the playoffs. I mean, the thing is, though, LAFC is going to have forever between their last regular season match and their first playoff match. They're going to have plenty of time to get healthy and address what they're going to have to address from a fitness standpoint. So we'll see. It's part of the fun of what's coming up in MLS this year. I know they don't play tonight, but to me, what's coming up on Saturday in Chester is going to be very, very intriguing, very, very fun to watch.
Part of the fun the rest of the way in MLS is looking ahead to next year, too. And what did you think about the rumors with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami?
Yeah. What's the buyout? Like $800 million?
Yeah, the buyout's not happening. I don't think Beckham is triggering that kind of money. But he can walk in June.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I mean, that's always kind of been the down the road rumor that Messi was going to play out his career in Miami. To me, this seems too soon, but boy, is that intriguing.
33.
I think there's gas left in the tank, though. I really do. I think, honestly, Jason, I think Messi could play in another World Cup. I think he could be good for another World Cup cycle. I really, really believe that. What, he'd be 36 or 37 by the time we get to Qatar?
It's possible. He's been pretty healthy in the last few years. He hasn't had any kind of major injuries. Early on in his career, he had a lot of injuries, and there was always a lot of concern. He's done a lot with Barcelona's help to stay healthy and maximize every bit of his physical gifts that he has. 33, you've got a Copa America next summer. He would likely play for Argentina in that. I feel like the national team stuff is kind of a year-by-year type of deal. You know, does he feel like he's up to it? If he wants to go to another World Cup, if that's his goal, if he says, you know what, I want to go one more time, I want to win one, I'm going to go for it. I think he would be better to come to MLS.
I agree.
And not have the physical toll on his body that he would have at Barcelona. I think the other side, too, is if they win a Champions League this year, then he's far more likely to go.
Well, there's another element, too. You go play in Miami, the flight to Buenos Aires from Miami is probably half of the flight from Barcelona to Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
So it puts him in a good spot travel-wise, too, if he wants to go all in with his national team. I mean, there are a lot of good reasons for him to do it. And, I mean, this might be controversial and this might be totally wrong. I feel that Messi has more gas in his tank now than Beckham had in his gas tank in 2007 when he came to MLS. This is the kind of signing, the kind of move that would be seismic for MLS. Absolutely seismic. And it would give MLS, I think, a tremendous foothold in Europe, where there's a lot of untapped potential for growth for MLS in Europe from a TV revenue standpoint. I mean, you're talking about ways that you can monetize the league. Now suddenly you could have a bidding war for TV rights in Europe for MLS if Messi comes over. So it's very intriguing. It's very exciting. It's another one of those things that I would not put money on, but boy, if it happened, get ready for Inter Miami to make 20 to 25 appearances on national TV because they would be the draw. They would be the attraction.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy. I mean, the comparison to Beckham is interesting because I think Beckham ended up having, as a player, more gas in the tank than maybe he thought he did at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think he thought he was kind of winding down when he took the opportunity and then found, I think, a new reserve and was great in the last couple of years of his time here after he got over some injuries and just the issues with coming and then trying to make the 2010 World Cup team, getting injured, having bad luck there, and then trying to go one more time with the Olympic team in 2010 and captain Team GB and not getting picked and then wanting to fight San Jose mascots and all that. I think the thing about Messi, though,
SportsCenter's next,
that he brings to the table is Beckham got you on Good Morning America. Beckham got you into places that nobody else could in MLS at that time. Messi doesn't necessarily get you there because I don't think he's comfortable doing stuff in English. But he's known by your English language fans inside and out because he's the greatest player in the world. And he gets you more on the Spanish language side than Beckham did.
Yeah.
I agree. I think he is – we talked about it when the rumor popped up. Pelé was a spectacle and sold everything out with the New York Cosmos. Beckham was a spectacle but also brought more as a player. He was younger. He brought some different things than Pelé could at that time. The league was also more mature to be able to handle it. The league now can absolutely handle it, and Messi will bring you the spectacle, but he's also going to enhance the competition. And it's not just going to be a celebrity move. It's going to be a big soccer move on top of Messi's celebrity. That's why it could be, in some ways, very transformational.
And then Inter Miami can go out and hire Ray Hudson for the commentary box.
Oh. He'd be falling out of the commentary box on a regular
Seriously.
basis.
They need to put the glass up.
Ray Hudson getting to do Messi games every week in person. Good Lord.
Oh.
Sign me up.
They'd have their own contract. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they ended up with their own deal that was separate from everybody else to do a bunch of ancillary programming including the local stuff and the national stuff, because you know that they would monopolize the national contract.
I think a lot of this, guys, is going to hinge on the next CBA. And I don't know how the timing works out, but one thing you have to keep in mind, I mean, is Lionel Messi going to want to fly and coach on United from Miami to Chicago for a midweek game?
Wheels up.
Is Messi going to be okay with, doing all these cross-country trips, 5 hours? Heck, Miami. I mean, Miami, if they have a Cascadia year where they're playing Vancouver, Seattle, and Portland, you're going to have 3 6-hour each-way trips a year, where probably the longest road trip that he makes in Spain right now is, 90 minutes? There's a lot of elements to playing in MLS that I think would be difficult for Messi to adapt to. And it would take a real leap of faith on his part and a real sales pitch by David Beckham, because, the league's not going to look the other way if Lionel Messi wants to charter a NetJets to go to each road game. That's not fair. That puts him at a competitive advantage. The league has to address some things in the CBA that will make it more attractive for a player of Messi's caliber to want to come over and play here. It's not going to be easy.
Since we're talking Messi, I'm going to go ahead and put this out on the table for both of you. Is there a player that you would, and this is just completely and totally wishful thinking. If it could happen, it could happen. There is no logic attached to this question at all. But along the lines of a Lionel Messi, who else would you like to see in MLS for whatever reason? Who amongst those comets that we have in the game today, Mike, who would you MLS who's playing internationally? Anybody?
I have to pick one.
No.
I mean, to see Lukaku come over to MLS, to see Miguel Almiron come back to MLS would be very nice. Obviously, if it were an Atlanta shirt, Griezmann. Oh boy, I mean, to get Paul Pogba playing alongside Florentine in Atlanta would be a lot of fun. I mean, we could go up and down the list. There are so many world-class players that would make this league better the way that they're playing right now. I think, we could have a shoot for the stars conversation. We can have a more realistic conversation. Now, it's fun that Messi is in the realistic conversation right now because of where he is in his career and his age and his potential aspirations to kind of concentrate on winning the World Cup for Argentina. But, I mean, if we're shooting for the moon, I mean, I'd like to see Alphonso Davies come back to MLS. I think to get Christian Pulisic in MLS could be very, very good for this league. Very good. But Christian Pulisic needs to do what's best for himself, too. And playing in the Premier League might be the best thing for him right now because he's getting an opportunity to play. It's not like he's riding the bench. Honestly, I think Chicharito would do a lot of very positive things for the league in Latin markets.
Missed opportunity.
If you bring him into Houston or Dallas or Chicago or a market that has a big contingent of Latin American fans, I think Chicharito could, and Memo Ochoa, kind of the same thing, a little more of a celebrity figure, but he's someone that I think could really attract people to support teams in Latin markets where they aren't really getting that support right now. So it's two different conversations, John. It's the soccer only standpoint where I think you bring in a Lukaku or a Griezmann or a Paul Pogba and it makes the soccer product that much better. But I think there's also that ticket selling element that might come into play where if you bring in a Chicharito or a Pulisic or a Memo Ochoa or something like that, they could help you sell tickets, and that's good too. I guess it all depends on where you feel this league needs the most help right now in answering that question.
There, in my mind, probably 2 players, maybe a third, that could have the effect off the field like Messi. Messi's one of them. Ronaldo doesn't now because of the other stuff swirling around him. He would have previously. I think Memo Ochoa and Chicharito absolutely would have that kind of effect, depending on where they go. And I think they would go to a city and a market that would be able to capitalize on it.
And I think Neymar would be another. It's just, do you want to take on everything that comes with having Neymar in your dressing room?
Yeah, because of that. I think there's so much negativity around him that it wouldn't. There's a lot of great players that would be amazing to have from a quality on the field standpoint. Anybody. I mean, that part's just obvious. But I think what happens a lot of times is people think that, okay, we're going to sign this great player and he's going to move the needle. There's not many who do that outside of the soccer bubble. Messi's one, and I think from a Mexican-American perspective, Chicharito and Memo Ochoa could absolutely do that in the right market. Chicago, for example, if they signed either one to lead the Fire into Soldier Field next year, you're going to be in great shape. You're going to be in great shape. Outside of that, I don't really think there is anybody who is going to do it. I think a lot of people expected Thierry Henry, for example, and this is the one that I always think of. You know, Beckham, massive, everywhere, huge. Cuauhtemoc Blanco, same thing. Little bit less than Beckham, obviously, but in the Mexican-American community, Blanco coming to Chicago Fire was unbelievable and drew big crowds on the road. People thought Thierry Henry would be that. Nowhere near the same effect. He was good.
Exactly.
He's a great player. But Thierry Henry, if you are an average sports fan, you don't really get. You get Beckham. And if you are a Mexican-American who wants to go see one of the legends of your country, you're going to go see Blanco. You're going to go see Chicharito. You're going to go see Ochoa. Everybody knows Lionel Messi. Everybody knows Messi at this point. So those are the transformational ones. There are other, you could go through 500 players, and they would be great for the league because they're great soccer players. But Messi's the only one, I think, that truly captures everybody's attention.
I'm with you. Of course, you could sign Mario Balotelli and sell some tickets up in New York as well.
You could sell some tickets for sure. I think people would want to see what he does and how long it
available.
takes for him to go nuts. No, he's signed. He's in Italy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he signed with a club in Italy.
Oh, well, give it time.
Give it 6 months. And Yeah, we will see.
By the way, speaking of New York, real quick, New York City hosting Toronto tonight. This feels like a really, really good chance for New York City to finally drop some points at Yankee Stadium. Watching that match last weekend where New England concedes the late penalty and they were playing for 10 men for basically the whole match and kind of hanging in there and leading, and then New York City gets the equalizer. I'm starting to get that feeling like this is just going to be New York City's year, that the soccer cosmos are aligning for them a little bit. But we'll see tonight. I think, full-strength Toronto against I wouldn't say depleted, but certainly short-handed New York City team tonight at Yankee Stadium. Real opportunity for them to drop some points. And until New York City drops points, Atlanta United does not control its own destiny in the Eastern Conference, even with the match coming up at Yankee Stadium. They've got to drop points somewhere else. And, hopefully tonight is the night.
I think Toronto can do it, and they've got a lot to play for. So that kicks us off tonight at 7 o'clock. 4 interesting matches that all have an impact on the playoff picture. It's what you want if you're MLS at this stage. You want all your games to have something on the line. And all of these tonight, even during the international break, will have that. We'll get into the games for the weekend because it's going to ramp up even more with craziness when you join us on Friday.
Sounds good, guys. Good talking to you, and see you at Pizzeria Azuri. I can't stop thinking about that. Wow,
gotta go get the pear. It's worth a drive.
Yeah. I don't even like pears, but that even makes pears sound
pear
good.
fan either, and it was amazing.
Yeah. Anything with gorgonzola is going to work for me. So good shout there on them.
All right, see you for stoppage time this afternoon.
Okay, guys, see you.
Be good.
Thanks, Mike. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get back into the Twitter timeline right after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, Wapass Wednesday. Join that conversation on Twitter at Soccer Down here. My mind is blown by something I've just seen on Twitter.
Oh?
At Down the Byline, which covers Sporting Kansas City. Mike from Down the Byline writes for the Blue Testament on the SB Nation site. We've talked about this show before, and I don't think you had ever heard of it the first time we mentioned it. Bar Rescue.
No,
you
I hadn't heard
the
of it the first
conversation.
time. Oh, I remember the
It's
conversation.
like a Kitchen Nightmares type of show, but it's about bars.
Yeah, right.
John Taffer yells at everybody a lot in a different way than Gordon Ramsay, but yes, yells at everybody a lot. Well, Kellen Rowe, Major League Soccer player, was used as a recon spy on Bar Rescue. So a lot of times they will send, a couple in or send somebody in to scout the place out, and they'll be like asked to do certain things or ask for certain things on the menu or certain drinks or whatever to kind of test them. So Kellen Rowe was a recon spy on Bar Rescue that aired this past Sunday night.
How do you get that gig?
I don't know how you get that gig. He was in Kansas City at the time. I'm assuming it was a bar in Kansas City, so it was probably shot earlier this year. He's now at RSL, but Kellen Rowe, recon spy for Bar Rescue.
We need you to do a little recon.
Well, I mean, you're going to get paid.
My question is, was he recognized as Kellen Rowe?
I don't think so. I mean, just the screenshot that Down the Byline posted is just Gina and Kellen, recon spies.
Okay.
So, yes, Major League Soccer midfielder Kellen Rowe was a recon spy on Bar Rescue this past Sunday night.
I wonder how you put that either on a CV or on your IMDb page.
You don't unless you're wanting to go into some kind of acting, I guess, or something. But, yeah, you probably don't. You leave that one out. You just cash the check.
It's like, yeah, thanks for the free opportunity to sample stuff on the menu at the bar for Bar Rescue. I'm out.
Well, it's probably not somewhere that you want to sample the stuff on the menu because you're going to a bar that's got problems. Like you're the recon spy going in before they fix it. So you want the cash. You want to check. You're not excited about you're not getting a pair of pizza. You're not getting anything good. You're probably getting something that's bad.
Okay, see, now you have me going toward the restaurant report card segments that we see on newscasts where they show you that so-and-so got like a 38 on their restaurant report card for things that really shouldn't happen. See, now you've got me going down that road.
Yeah, but you're not sending in recon spies to do that like Bar Rescue does.
Oof. That makes you just wonder what's wrong with these bars, that you need spies and everything just goes sideways.
They show you what's wrong with the bars, because then they fix it. That's the whole point of the show. It's just like Kitchen Nightmares, except for a bar.
You're mixing this drink wrong.
No, it's not to that
It's too
degree.
watery.
No, it's your beer taps have mold in them, or your kitchen is serving up crap, or whatever. There's all kinds of things to it. So yes, it is far more than just the mix of the drink is incorrect. No, that's small potatoes.
Your kitchen is serving up crap. I think that's probably the best analysis that I'm waiting to hear from that show. Just from the guy that just goes, your kitchen is serving up crap.
Oh, well, yeah, he says that, and he sometimes will say it in far more colorful ways that are bleeped. So
colorful
hopefully
metaphors?
Kellen Rowe did not get any disgusting food or anything that would affect his ability to play in Major League Soccer.
For real. Kefsey, as a follow-up from the question that we addressed this morning, understands that it may be player dependent as to whether or not you're heading the ball down and into the net. Kefsey says, I'd expect to see runs that disorganize the opposition, maybe runs switching the side of the field from outside into the box. But last night runs were too similar and missed on the cross.
Yeah, I just felt like everything was similar last night early on. It got a little bit better, and not so much on crosses in the air, but you started to see some cutbacks. You started to see some different opportunities. But, yeah, the early going, it just felt like everybody's making the same run, and the crosses weren't all that great either, so that didn't help. You've got to have more diversity in your attack. That's something that has to change.
Jorge B. wants to know if Argentina exposed Mexico. Tata said that they need more of these preparation games against A teams so they can improve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I disagree with some of the takes that, now you see that it's always like the best team in CONCACAF is just a minnow in the rest of the world. No, I disagree with that. You also have to remember that for whatever reason, Argentina is Mexico's bogey team. They have been probably 20 years, it feels like. Argentina has always given Mexico problems. And then it's weird because Mexico has given Brazil problems. So that could factor into it, too, just from a mental block standpoint. But, yeah, I mean, what Tata says about playing A teams, it's the same thing that Greg Berhalter has to deal with as well. Like, you know, you can work on things, you can try to get better, you can try to build your national team program, but you find out where you are when you're tested against top teams. And CONCACAF doesn't have many of those. You have the U.S. and Mexico. That's it. Costa Rica is not at the level they have been. They're going to test you, but they're not an A team. There's nobody else who's there. So the U.S. and Mexico, right now, Mexico's better than the United States. That's clear. But where does Mexico really stand? They have to play some South American teams. They get a chance to play some European teams, although with the UEFA Nations League, it's difficult. They have to try to find some of these opportunities for bigger tests. And then the U.S. will as well. The U.S., I think, has a little more to do first to get to where they're Mexico. And then you can really, truly find out where you are against some other teams. But there's a gap. And that's why in the long-term discussions, there has been talk about combining CONCACAF and CONMEBOL and making it one big confederation. And then you see where things fall. That'd be fascinating. It's a huge amount of travel. Your Copa Libertadores and stuff would be very difficult to do. You're going to have to get creative and probably schedule it differently than you see the UEFA Champions League scheduled. You're going to have to find some other ways to do it. But South America has 10 countries in it in CONMEBOL. CONCACAF has, I believe, 40, or no, they have 50-something now. I think they're at 55. But you have two that are really strong. You have a couple more that are trying to be strong, and you have a lot of very small countries that, you know, can't compete on a regular basis with the top teams. So it's two very strange confederations next to one another that should find ways to work together more, and I think it would really benefit the U.S. Mexico, and then your middle to bottom tier South American countries as well, because it'd give them some more competition, and it'd give them some games that maybe are a little closer to their speed. So I'll be curious to see if that happens down the road. I'll be really curious to see if it happens after the 2026 World Cup, where you're talking about qualifying for a World Cup in another part of the world for a 48-team tournament, where you're going to get, I think they're recommending at this point 6 or 7 countries from CONCACAF to get in, and you're going to have at least 6 or 7 from South America out of 10. So what's the point of qualifying? Like, everybody's going pretty much. So you're going to have to figure out some different things. I think those discussions will ramp up as you get closer to 26 and looking at that next cycle.
CONCACAF, 41 member associations, 28 from the Caribbean, 7 Central America, 3 from North and South America.
Okay. There's a lot, and there's not many that are competitive.
Nope. Let's see. What else is going on? Tafka says pineapple and pepperoni, a spicy Hawaiian, is an amazing pizza.
I've never had that. I'll have to give it a try. I would have never really thought of that. That might work.
And Jared is saying that a Hawaiian pizza is a top 5 option. End of discussion.
I disagree with that. I don't think it's a top 5, but it's a nice change of pace. I like it as a change of pace. I don't like it as a normal selection.
Let's see. Tafka is calling BS on Don Garber.
Well, okay.
Bob Williams says in a thread that Don Garber is saying that most MLS teams are operating at a loss. And Tafka says he calls BS, and if not BS, it's the fault of owners for poor marketing and poor product being offered to fans.
Have you heard Roger Goodell say similar things when a CBA is coming up for negotiation about, well, we're not making as much money as it might appear?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
have you
trying
heard,
to leverage your position?
The NBA do the same thing. The NHL do the same thing. Major League Baseball. It's part of the game. It happens at this point. I think the Forbes valuations show that, I want to say, and those are not exact. You're not getting a look at the books, but it's, a good estimate, I think, a safe estimate. There was about, roughly it's half and half as to who is, making more money than they're spending in a given year. If you want to say operating at a loss, there's lots of different ways that you can manipulate the numbers to show that, with previous investments that, are still on the books that are causing you to operate at a loss. Sure, you can add that in when it's convenient. You can say that you're, making money year to year when that's convenient too. That's part of the game. I don't even take any stock in it, to be honest. I don't. It's not worth calling BS on it, because it's part of Don Garber's job as the commissioner of the league to get the most favorable collective bargaining agreement for the league that is there. It is what it is. I think the thing that's important when you look at those Forbes numbers and money being made year to year and money being spent year to year, nobody was making massive money year to year. Nobody was losing massive money year to year. And that was also not factoring in Soccer United marketing, where there is money coming in. So I don't think any owner in the league is losing their shirt at this stage. I don't think that's happening anymore.
Drew Gano can't listen live today and wants to know what our thoughts were on Myles Robinson's play last night.
Well, hello from the past, Drew, when you get a chance to listen. And I thought Myles in the 2 games showed well. I would have loved to have seen him get a start. I think it's time. I think he deserves a start in one of the CONCACAF Nations League matches. I really think he's at that point. I think that after Aaron Long's performances and after Myles Robinson's performances and their performances with their clubs this year, you could flip that ranking on the depth chart. I think you could. You need to see Myles start in a big game, and you need to see how he responds. Yes, that's still the question with the national team. But he was good. Aaron Long was not good last night. And not just because he got spun like a top by Brian Rodriguez. He just wasn't that good in this system, and that's what I keep coming back to, is Myles plays in a system that is far more similar to what Greg Berhalter wants than Aaron Long does. And I think over time that's going to help Myles in moving himself up the depth chart and passing Aaron Long and being the guy who was probably penciled in next to John Brooks for a long time.
ATL UTD fan number 1. Fellas, as the announcers for Atlanta United 2, can you tell us why we don't see more of Jose Hernandez? His signing seems so odd in terms of the amount of time he hasn't played with either club.
I don't think his signing seems odd because this was a guy coming off of a U20 World Cup with Venezuela where they were very good. I think it just happens sometimes where a player is very good at the U20 level and it doesn't completely click moving up. I mean, we've seen him at left back and he's been okay. I don't know if he's athletic enough to play as a left back, as a left wing back in this system. I've actually really liked the transition of him playing as a central midfielder, as a holding midfielder. I think his technique is very good. He's a strong technical player, good passer, little sloppy defending, and that's been one issue. He's picked up a lot of cards because he's been late with tackles and he's been out of position and had to lunge in. I don't know where he stands at this point. I don't think he is a first-team player with Atlanta United at the moment. And, with the twos, I think it's easy to get a little worked up about, well, he's not playing every week for the twos, so he's not a player there. The twos rotate a lot to begin with because that's just part of the gig. You have to see a lot of different people, and there's different things that pop up game to game, week to week. So he's had a better year as a central midfielder in my mind, but I don't know if he's any closer to first-team minutes in that position either. I just don't think he's quite there. And we'll see what comes up when his contract comes up, what the decision is. Because I just don't think he's quite there with a first-team deal yet. First-team time yet. He's on a first-team deal, but I just don't think he's a first-team player at this stage.
Tafka with a question about the playoffs in MLS. With qualification losing importance, how about pre-cup qualification having influence on grouping? Best of each conference gets you into each fishbowl as a top seed or something similar.
Okay, wait a minute. Go back through that. I was a little confused.
Okay. With qualification losing importance, I'm guessing that this is an MLS question because there are some modifiers that are out.
Okay.
With qualification losing importance, how about pre-cup qualification having influence on groupings? Best of each conference gets you into each fishbowl as a top seed or something similar.
I think that's World Cup related, but I'm confused. Please clarify.
Yes, please clarify.
We need clarification on that question because I'm baffled.
Yes. Prize picks and fantasy.
Yes. Have you set your fantasy lineup, John?
If you want to call it that.
Is Carlos Grueso part of it?
Yes.
Okay, you need to drop him. You need to drop him from the team.
No, Carlos Grueso is not a part of the roster this week.
Hey, I got to check.
As you should.
Is Corey Burke part of the roster?
That would be inaccurate, sir.
Okay, yeah, the Jamaican League stats do not count.
No.
All right, so what you got?
In net, Vega, double week.
So you're thinking double week with Vega. They go to RSL, and they... what do they
NYC.
do with their other one? Who?
NYC.
That's right. That's a... Okay. All right. I don't know about that, but okay.
Coming in from one end of the country to the other.
Yeah, it's a double week, but it might be a double beating as a goalkeeper against two teams that can score some goals at home.
Well, then I got Clint Irwin in reserve. He's going up against L.A. and Colorado.
I actually kind of like that one better. I'm looking at any of the other double weeks. The tricky one is you don't know what NYC is going to do tonight. You don't know if Sean Johnson's just going to get off the plane and
it's going to be
start.
Stuver on a 1 or Sean Johnson.
Yeah, I I would lean a little more towards Irwin, but then Tim Howard might play on the weekend too. You never know. So
yeah, and then below that, and then this was also a salary thing where along the same lines with Vega, I could have Stephen Fry on a single, Robles on a single, Westberg on a double, Andre Blake, Evan Bush, and then you're kind of going from there. I thought about Westberg on a double.
Yeah.
But then I'd have to rearrange a couple of other things. I think I actually have enough Toronto FC players where I could add Westberg and swap him out for Vega.
Maybe. I don't think there's a goalkeeper that you would force on a double this week. That's the way I would look at it, is pick your best goalkeeper option in your mind. And Brad Kazan could be that with Columbus coming to town with all the clean sheets that Brad Kazan has picked up.
Yeah, mine was based on salary at this point. That's why it was Fry and Robles and
Steve Clark
Westberg.
in Portland is a possibility, hosting DC United.
Still too expensive.
Well, you can move other pieces around. You know this, right? That's how the game works. Just saying. I'm just telling you goalkeeper options that I feel strongly about. Fry would be pretty good out of the one.
What about Bush against Cincinnati?
Yeah, probably, but Montreal's been so weird that I don't know if I trust it. I would rank them in order of Clark, Fry, Gazan, Bush. I'm almost tempted to go Gazan second, but anyway, I don't think you need to force a double week goalkeeper in. That's the most important thing. I just don't think there's one that lays out that yes, this is an obvious pick.
Oh, and Taka says it's a World Cup question instead of FIFA rankings determining groupings, using World Cup qualifying performance to determine it.
That's what I thought. It's hard because it's so uneven from confederation to confederation. The FIFA rankings take that into account, so it kind of already is factored in as best as it can be. There's not a perfect system. There's just not, and I think with confederations going more and more towards the Nations League type of format, that's going to affect the FIFA rankings, and it's going to be a little more insular, and you're going to have to then decide how the pots are decided based off which confederations are stronger. And, Europe is always going to be priority, and South America will be right there with them, and everybody else is kind of fighting it out for the same. So there's not an exact way to do it. I don't think there ever will be a perfect way to compare the U.S. and Ghana and South Korea and Croatia, because they all play different teams and they all do different things and they're in very different confederations, and it's hard to compare them until they play in a World Cup.
Backline for me this week, as of right now: Omar Gonzalez, Opara, Metanier, and Myles.
Okay.
Midfield: Pozuelo, Gregish, Lapalainen, Pavone.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And then up top, I've got Gustavo Bo and a captain to Zlatan on a double.
Yeah, Zlatan on a double is a good call. Yeah, I mean, I think that's strong. There's nothing that's glaring about it. I think the ones that you pick double weeks are on the field, and those are better options this week. So you got to keep that in mind tonight. If you want anybody from the teams playing tonight, you're going to get a double game option, which can be good or it can be bad, depending on how the matchups fall and what you think.
Sometimes it may be good.
Yeah, sometimes maybe something else. So you need to look at that if you want any players from those teams. You got to have them in your lineup tonight. We'll have an update on the standings and everything later in the week from the previous week. The commissioner is still tallying up things. Let's get into Prize Picks, though. MyPrizePicks.com. Go to Prize Picks on your app stores, either Android or iOS. You can get it wherever you want. If you make an initial deposit with Prize Picks, use the code SDH. You're going to get 25% of that initial deposit matched up to $1,000. You're going to get a free $25 two-pick play that you get a little bit of extra help if you only get half of it. So that's pretty cool. And there's always like specials going on where if you pick a NFL player here, if you pick a football player here, if you do this, if you mix and match on a certain day, you can get different bonuses and options. So tonight's board for Prize Picks, Valentin Castellanos is a 7. The scoring, it's a shot is a point, a shot on goal is a point, 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. You lose points for yellow cards and red cards. It's pretty simple. You're picking Valentin Castellanos. He's on 7. You pick, is he going to go over that or under that? And they have to start to actually count. Castellanos, 7. Josie, 6. Pozuelo, 6. Mauro Manotas, 6.5. Darwin Quintero, 5. Zlatan, 11.5. Wando, 6.5.
I like Wando on the over. Poachers poach.
I'm going Zlatan under.
Yeah.
I'm going Castellanos over, and I'm leaning Wando over.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go Tati. I'll go Tati over. And Wando over. Zlatan under.
You will have an EPL board up later in the week. You'll have your college, your NFL football boards in the week. You've got baseball going on, all kinds of stuff. You can mix and match sports. MyPrizePicks.com, Prize Picks app, Prize Picks on social media. Make sure you are following to keep up with their specials because they run a bunch. And just go ask Daniel Price what he's doing on it because he has done fairly well for himself in the world of Prize Picks. So wait for him to give you his options because he's probably doing better than anybody else.
Yeah. So Daniel Price has been on it. He has been our Prize Picks oracle when it comes to this kind of stuff, and the sounding board too.
Yes. Anything else on the Twitters?
Oh, no. Other than Jorge El Mataflow saying that Carlos Gruezo has transferred to FC Augsburg.
Yes. And I knew that. And John still tried to have him in his fantasy lineup weeks after he had transferred.
Yeah. Because there was the green dot, and MLS Soccer has to work on the green dots and make sure that when somebody's no longer in the country, that you mention something there and put a red dot next to his name as opposed to a green dot.
Well, they expect that you're paying attention.
But a green dot means that you're eligible to be picked.
Well, they expect that you're paying attention.
Who are we talking about here?
Yeah, but, you still should pay attention to like who's in the league. Just saying. It's an idea for fantasy points. You don't get points for other leagues.
Yeah, we don't have a Bundesliga or something European.
They exist, yes, but this is a strict Major League Soccer fantasy league. It's not a World's All-Stars fantasy league.
So if Carlos Gruezo scored points with Augsburg, it would not apply in my MLS fantasy league, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you got to pay attention. It's true.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you want to do a World All-Stars fantasy league, and just like we talked about with the national teams and trying to determine who's better between different continents when they don't play each other on a regular basis, do a World All-Stars fantasy league and how points in MLS compare to points in the Bundesliga to points in the K-League. That would be amazing if whoever wants to create that one. Figure out the coefficients and percentages and degrees of difficulty, and oh man, I just gave myself a headache.
Yeah, there's a lot of math there, sir. That's not something you want done.
No.
We are caught up. We are officially caught up on the Twitters, by the way.
All right. We will be on Stoppage Time, 92.9 The Game Facebook page. It is our 100th episode of Stoppage Time. That's crazy. Jimmy posted a picture of our first one where it looks like we're in a closet that's dark, but there's a TV behind us with a logo on it. That's crazy. That was the day after the U.S. didn't qualify for the World Cup. It was not a happy stoppage time that day. This will be a much happier stoppage time, our 100th episode. Facebook.com/99 The Games at 2 o'clock. I'll be on with the midday show, Andy and Randy, at 1:20, and I'll hang around for the AMA and then run downstairs and do stoppage time. And it will be a fun day over at the game. Looking forward to it.
Yes. All right. Before we go, you look at the calendar, you know what today is. It is September 11th. And it is a day that, and honestly, you see the taglines, never forget, and things like that, nor should we. So as you're out and about today, I know sometimes that memories and memorials and taking time out to think about others kind of gets lost in the sauce because our days are incredibly hectic. And with everything going on, I would just request that at some point today, just remember what happened. And it's hard to believe it's 18 years, but remember what happened 18 years ago, how we've changed since then, not just as a country, but as people. And be thankful for where you are and what we do every single day. And all of the things that make this the greatest experiment on this or any other planet. Let today be an example of what is good about all of us and what we remember about what happened a long time ago, which really does seem like yesterday when you think about it. Never forget today, never forget what it means, but at the same time, never be afraid to tell everybody around you how important they are, what it means, what they mean, and how much you love them. Because that really is what it comes down to on a day like this, is don't ever be afraid to tell somebody what you feel about them, because you never know. So it is 9/11, never forget, but carry these emotions forward and just remind everybody how much they are and what they mean to you. End of segment for that.
Yeah, in some ways it does feel like it was yesterday, and in other ways it feels like it was a long, long time ago. It's really strange in that regard. Feels like a very different place than that we're in now than we were then and after that happened. And I hope that one day that togetherness that it felt like afterwards can return. Because I feel like that's been lost in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And hopefully that can change here at some point. And, take the time to just, think back to where you were and how you felt and everything that happened afterwards. I mean, I will never forget it. So, take a minute today. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for people who definitely were affected personally. And there are a lot of you out there who were. So, I think everybody who went through it has their own kind of perspective on it. And take a minute to think back to that.
Yeah. I mean, I know people who lost folks in the towers. And I make a point around this time of year, but also other times of the year, to be as supportive for first responders, publics, those who are there to help the public every single day, because it wasn't just police and fire, it was Port Authority and a bunch of other folks who lost their lives as a part of 343, which is attached to what happened from the public service aspect of it all. But just take a little time just to have a little thought about the perspective and how things have changed and how we can get back to where we were. I know it's a long slog, but it's a new normal. And that's just where we are right now. So just negotiate the new normal as best you can, but don't ever be afraid to tell folks what you feel.
One bit of news as we finish up, and it's actually pretty big. Julian Cardillo, who is the New England Revolution correspondent for ProSoccerUSA.com, tweets this out, and it's official coming from the New England Revolution. The independent review panel has unanimously rescinded the one-game suspension and accompanying fine for the red card New England Revolution defender Antonio De La Mea received in the 9th minute of New England's match at New York City.
Oh, wow.
So that was, remember how that played out? It was a foul called and a yellow card issued. When it went to VAR, it was upgraded to a red card because it was seen as a dog-so, because the foul was called. The foul was not overturned. If you call the foul, you have to go red there. But by making this mistake, the referee, Silvio Petrescu, forced New England to play incorrectly, according to the independent review panel, for 81 minutes, shorthanded. Gave New York City a man advantage for 81 minutes in a match where they struggled to take advantage of that after conceding an early goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that mistake will ultimately have a very big impact on the Eastern Conference playoff race. It affects New England. It affects New York City. It affects Philadelphia. It affects Atlanta. It affects everybody around New England in that part of the race. Gigantic mistake made. So what they are saying in this is not that the red card was incorrect exactly, because if you call the foul, you have to give the red for dog-so. They're saying it wasn't a foul, and it was egregiously not a foul enough for them to make this decision.
Makes you wonder what the assignments are going to be in the future now.
It makes you wonder if you're going to see Silvio Petrescu anytime soon as a second referee, because that is a massive error. You know, when we went through it and talked about it, I zeroed in more on I understand why it went to VAR. If you call the foul and you stay with the foul, you have to go red. There's no way to allow that to come back to a yellow in that point. But when you go back and look at it, it shouldn't have been a foul. That's the issue. Because De La Mea, plays the ball away. He plays the ball backwards. There's not a foul there because he got to the ball first. The collision was after he got to the ball. So that's a big one, and we will see how important those 2 points for NYC are. We'll see how important losing points for New England was and just the overall effect of this. But that just came out. So, oh, boy. Refereeing in MLS will continue to be a conversation. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks again to everybody up at Pizzeria Azzurri and the Suburban Ultras for hanging out with us last night. A lot of fun talking soccer for a long time with y'all and eating amazing food at Pizzeria Azzurri. Highly recommended when you're in the coming area. We will be back tomorrow on the show as we start to get ready for a full weekend of MLS. We'll go through the games that happened tonight. They start at 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Lots of games that will have an impact on the playoff picture. We'll be back tomorrow to recap it for you. Mucha plata, y'all.
Never forget, y'all.